A very good morning wherever you are watching us from your right on time for Kirk TV in the morning. This particular Friday, where we take a review of what has been happening all through the week or in matters to do with politics, entrepreneurship, the Kenyan economy. And of course, talking about economy, this week has been climaxed by the reading of the 2022-2023 budget by the CS Treasury Ukur Yatani, of course, highlighting one of the key measures that the Jubilee government is said to leave aside as we head to the August polls, because already 10 years for the Jubilee government are now gearing to get over, and President Uhuru Kenyatta is seeking to leave behind a legacy that is full of economic restorations. Kenyans have been decrying rising prices of commodities and the ballooning economy in the country. That is what was highlighted in the budget read by Ukur Yatani yesterday, the 2022-2023 budget. We'll be taking a review of what specifically did he touch on in regards to the common Kenyan, and who are the losers and winners of that particular budget, and what we expect in that budget ahead of the August polls, because the budget is quite significant in that it will start its implementation with the next government, that is until June 2023. So welcome aboard. We'll also be talking on matters to do with health later on. We'll be taking a highlight, of course, health sector being one of the highlights of the budget yesterday. We'll also be talking about matters to do with health later on in the program, and I will also be speaking to the Chief Executive Officer of Rafiki Pests Control Limited. We'll be talking on matters on how you can be able to cope with the control of pests in your homes, and later on we'll also be having our guest artist in studio. So we have quite lined up for you this particular morning. My name is Chris Sambo, and as we always do, we begin on the roads and then we take a look at what has been happening all through the week. All right, and now we get tuned to the roads and just take a glimpse of what is happening on the major roads linking into the Central Business District. And I want to take a look just quickly on one of the major roads that, as we always do, I will begin with the Ngong Road. Ngong Road, which is always a congested road linking all the way to the Central Business District. Different snarl-ups of traffic in different areas of that particular road, as you can see on your map right there. The red marks indicating that there are different snarl-ups at different points, and the roundabout of Mbagathi linking with Valley Road. So much traffic there. So if you can be able to avoid on that particular route, then you need to avoid that roundabout linking Mbagathi Way all through Valley Road heading to the Central Business District. And I just take a look at what is happening on the Central Business District. The Central Business District itself doesn't look so much good, as you can see there right on the map that will be showing on your screens. Central Business District looks so much congested with all the avenues linking into the CBD, right from Muindimbingo Street, Koinange, Haile Selassie Avenue, Moi Avenue, Luthuli Avenue, joining up Kirinyaga Road to the Central Business District. Of course, that is a busy road that has been, those are the busy avenues linking into the Central Business District, connecting with the major roads that come all the way from different residential places to the Central Business District. So if you can be able to avoid the CBD, then you'll be in a better place to be able to make your easy time in the CBD. Looking at Jogoo Road doesn't look so much good as you enter through Lathiz Road towards the Haile Selassie Avenue, so that you can get into the Central Business District. If you look at Jogoo Road, right from the start all through looks so much good, and despite the snarl-ups at different points, those are the picking points of the matatus, so you can be able to use Jogoo Road because it doesn't look so much bad, because all through it's clear entering into the Central Business District. And I just want to take a look at another major road, that is the Thika Road. And Thika Road, right from the Garden City, looks so much good all the way past Utalii College through Survey, heading towards the Central Business District. That is until you get to Muthaiga, the link-up road from Kiambu Road and Muthaiga all the way to Thika Road through the Muthaiga police station. That is where you get now the real big deal, because there is so much traffic in that particular area. Pangani doesn't look so much good, because if you look at Pangani, it's one of the major roads, of course, in between Thika Superhighway and the Muthaiga Road, linking through Ngara to the Central Business District. On the map, as you can see, I believe that you can see the red snarl-ups there, where it shows that there is so much traffic along the Muthaiga junction, linking into the Thika Road all through to the Central Business District. Remember, that is what is happening on the Thika Superhighway, one of the major roads linking into the Central Business District. And I just want to take a look at another road, that is the Parklands Road. Parklands Road this morning looks so much good. There is no snarl up at Parklands Road. They're all descending down all through to the Central Business District. Doesn't look so much bad. So if you're using Parklands Road, you can be sure that you'll get to the Central Business District on time, or rather you can be able to make your movements as easy as possible. Remember, you can keep on engaging us and telling us what is happening on the roads through our SMS number that will be rolling at the bottom of your screen. That is 0711220044, and I'll be sampling some of your feedbacks in regards to what is happening on the roads. And of course, you'll also have a particular moment to contribute to this particular program this morning. So welcome aboard, and be sure you're going to be part of this program right from the start, because we have so much lined up for you. We have so much lined up for you in regards to what has been happening all through the week. So we'll be talking about that in all through the program. Remember, we are streaming live on Facebook at Kirk TV Kenya. We're also streaming live on YouTube at Kirk TV Kenya, and our SMS number is 0711220044. That is SMS number that you'll be using to send in your feedback, so that we can get engaging, and you can be able to also follow bits of this particular program in regards to what is happening all through our discussions. We'll be talking on matters to do with the politics in regards to what is the plan for the 2022 political temperatures, in talking about the economic plans of different candidates ahead of the August polls. The Cabinet Secretary for Treasury, Ukur Yatani, highlighting what he expects all through from the year 2022-2023, getting into the financial year, that the next government will also have to inherit his budget. So I just want us to take a look at what will be happening all through the week, because we'll also be taking a look at what the newspapers have written this particular morning, because there is so much that has been written by the newspapers, and right from the Standard, the Daily Nation, the Star, and the Business Daily. So we get into the newspapers and get to see what the newspapers have written this morning. Talking of what is in the newspapers, and as expected after the budget reading yesterday, it's the post-budget reading, and the newspapers, starting with the Standard newspaper, talks about, on the front page of the Standard newspaper, talks about a safe exit budget. Uhuru's parting shot as Ukur Yatani, that is the Treasury CS, tears clear of any major new taxation measures and promises to soften economic blows to ordinary mwananchi already reeling under high costs of living, in an effort to give his boss a quiet exit, but the truth of his word remains hidden in the finance bill. That is the Standard newspaper, talking about what was in the budget that was read yesterday and tabled before the August House, and talks about the winners and the losers of that budget on the Standard newspaper, and 5.7 billion shillings allocated to farmers in the fertilizer subsidy, reduced export levy on raw hides and skins from 80 to 50%. That is some of the wins for the farmers. And also teachers winning big, getting 2.5 billion billion out of the 544 billion that was allocated to the Ministry of Education. And in regards to health, another big winner in the budget table, that is the 2022-2023 budget. That is, there will be no VAT on medical oxygen, adult diapers, artificial breast and plant and machinery of pharmaceutical products will be exempted from the value-added tax. That is what was included in the budget table yesterday at the August House. And the losers of that particular budget is the gambling and alcohol sector. Of course, the CS Treasury announcing a 15% excess duty on fees charged by TV and radio station on gambling and print media and billboards for advertisement, and 70% will be excess duty on liquid nicotine, a change from the current taxation regime. The government now in this particular budget seeming to tax less on what affects the common Kenyan, and now going forward seems to be luxury in terms of gambling and alcohol. And on page 2 of the Standard newspaper is all about what transpired yesterday all through the budget reading. It talks about the arrest of an activist who was chanting whether the government needs to lower the food prices. The scenarios there at the Standard newspaper, what transpired yesterday all through right until CS Treasury Kuriatan got into the parliament and tabled the 2022-2023 budget. And then on page 4 is an in-depth of what that budget was on and its aim in securing President Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy. And as well on page 6 talks about Yatani's explores new taxation measures to raise 2 trillion shillings, the Kenyan budget being 3.3 trillion shillings. The big question is, how will the Kenyan people be able to raise that particular amount to be able to fund that particular budget? And apart from that, there is a story there also on the state to spend 212 billion on roads as it seeks more private sector capital in infrastructure. The infrastructure sector, of course, taking a big share of President Uhuru Kenyatta's final budget and the Jubilee government final budget in its 10 years tenure while steering the country. And there is so much that has been written in regards to the budget, so you can grab your Standard newspaper copy. There's so much in depth in regards to the budget that was read by CS Treasury Kuriatani. I just want to take a look at the Daily Nation. The Daily Nation has its top page, of course, talking about a budget for the people. In striking a delicate balance, the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Kuriatani yesterday sought to ensure sustained economic revival while addressing the high cost of living haunting many families and boosting social welfare spending. But with the 800 billion funding deficit, is 3.3 trillion budget only means more debt pain for Kenyan taxpayers. That is a story by the Daily Nation. On top of the Daily Nation, talking about the striking balance of a delicate budget. That is the budget that President Uhuru Kenyatta will exit with. And as it seems, Kenyans have been decrying ballooning economy and also rising food prices. We'll be talking later on about that particular discussion. But the Daily Nation focuses on different winners here, talking about 17.5 billion shillings transferred to elderly and exempt of adult diapers from value-added tax, and person living with severe disabilities allocated 1.2 billion shillings, while 7.9 billion has been allocated to orphans and vulnerable children. 407 billion shilling is what is set as an increase of 37.1 billion to the counties, all the 47 counties, and 2.7 billion will be the subsidy that will cushion farmers in the just read budget. 21.7 billion is what the IEBC will be getting from this year's budget ahead of the 9th August general election. Those are some of the other winners in that particular budget. Apart from that, as I go to page 2 of the Daily Nation, it talks about in-depth of what has been included and also the scenarios of yesterday's budget reading. Apart from that, page 4 talks about Yatani, says basic items to be excluded from tax reviews in what seems to be a change of the budget, of the usual budget reading. This particular time, CS Ukur Yatani has now avoided so much in imposing new taxes for Kenyans in President Uhuru Kenyatta's final exit budget. And the IEBC also being on the center of that particular budget in regards to preparation for the August polls, while ABC had earlier on asked for more money in this budget. They got at least 22 billion shilling extra for preparation in the upcoming general election. And the Big Four agenda featuring largely on President Uhuru Kenyatta's final budget. Of course, it's been an area where the Treasury Ministry has been focusing on in fulfilling what the President had earlier on indicated as his legacy project. And as it seems, all eyes are geared for President Uhuru Kenyatta to make sure that his exit is bound on the Big Four agenda. And apart from that, the budget reading, not pro-people, says Ruto allies. That is in response to the budget read by CS Ukur Yatani, talking about the pro-Ruto allies, saying that the budget is not people-friendly and only seeks to benefit the exit of President Uhuru Kenyatta. On page 12 of the Daily Nation is where the big deal is, where now the rising political temperatures, Raila drops zoning talks and agrees to talk on his running mate. That is an issue that has been raised all through this week in regards to the Azimio la Umoja coalition, the politics of coalition, smaller parties coming out this week to claim their stake in the Azimio la Umoja, and also talking about being zoned out of the bigger plan of the Azimio family, responding to what has been the talk of town with Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka's party joining Azimio la Umoja. The lesser parties now feel that they have been neglected at the expense of Kalonzo Musyoka and ought to be included in the larger discussion. And that is a story that has been raising eyebrows in regards to how they will be able to maneuver. And of course, the running mate being a very big headache for all presidential aspirants, the coalition factor is also another headache for them to be able to find a way of maneuvering all around. That is the Daily Nation. And the Star newspaper has much on the budget. Apart from the budget, talks about the allocation of different sectors by the yesterday's budget. And apart from that, they are focused on the Education Ministry, which got the biggest share of the 2022-2023 budget, taking a whopping 525.9 billion shillings, an increase of 22 billion from last year. That is the amount of shillings that the Ministry of Education has been allocated, totaling to 544.4 billion shillings. And the Star newspaper also focusing on the budget reading that was done yesterday. We'll be digging in deep into that and getting to know what really did that budget mean for the Kenyan people. As it stands already, all eyes are geared because we're heading to the August polls, and the budget was very important and crucial in ensuring that Kenyans get cautioned of the ballooning economy. The Business Daily has an in-depth of what was imposed, and KRA gets now powers to freeze planes, cars, besides land. That is what the CS Ukur Yatani was able to also table before the August hours. And apart from that, the Business Daily has an in-depth of the repercussions of that bill in regards to what the bill meant to Kenyan people, and what are the areas that seemed critical for the CS Ukur Yatani while tabling that particular budget. That is the Business Daily. And Business Daily will just send me to take a look at what is in the People Daily. And the People Daily on front page It talks about Yatani falls short of expectations. Of course, not meeting all Kenyan expectations, but again, the budget was one that was that struck the balance in between cushioning Kenyans and also seeking to finance the country as it heads towards a new transition of government. And on page 2 of the People Daily, it talks about Raila rolls out Azimio zoning after partners raise concern. That is in regards to what the lesser parties in the Azimio Umoja brought up. And the Business Daily has a summary of what Ukuri Yatani presented yesterday. But apart from that, he's also talking, the Business Daily, the People Daily has focused on agriculture being the biggest winner, and farmers consistently on the few months that have passed decrying high prices of fertilizers and all that. That is the People Daily has so much in regards to the budget and breaking it down all through its pages, and right from the first page all through to the last, to the page 15 to the middle of the newspaper is talking about all the budget. And that is where we wind up the review on the newspapers, and now we will get into a discussion right about now. All right, and as we get into our discussion this particular morning, I want to introduce my panel with me here in studio, and on my near right is Oleso Odhiambo, is a political strategist, and will also be helping dig in on that, on what transpired yesterday in regards to the budget reading. And on the far right is Biko Ashoya, who is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. We'll also be talking about what the budget meant for the Kenyan people, and what indeed was in that particular budget that was omitted, or rather that was presented in the favor of the economy at this particular time. So welcome aboard. You can be able to contribute to this particular program. Remember, we are streaming live on Facebook and on Kirk TV Kenya and YouTube. We're also streaming at Kirk TV Kenya. And just want to welcome you, gentlemen, to the program once again. Karibuni sana this particular morning. And I don't see happy faces. I don't know whether that budget favored any of you. Just to begin with you, Mr. Oleso, what do you take of that budget that was read by Ukuri Yatani yesterday?
Okay, first of all, good morning, Kenyans. It is a good morning that we can have this discussion about the budget that was presented to us yesterday. Yesterday we saw a budget presented which actually marks the last budget of President Uhuru's tenure as a President of the Republic of Kenya after a span of 10 years. And what we saw yesterday in Parliament was actually a delicate balance between three things. Number one, to try and secure President Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy as he exits office. Number two, in the process of course, after the aftermath of COVID-19, so the CS was trying to ensure that the economy bounces back, and therefore he had to balance amid the rising cost of living. And then number three, as we are all aware, we are heading into the general election. And of course, this is a process that requires a substantial amount of funds. And therefore, that also had to be factored in. But still, in my opinion, the CS tried. We saw a bit a people-friendly budget. I could say that it is a people-friendly budget. But also, my worry will be, are we in a position to finance that budget? That is a question we will seek to answer.
And we'll also be coming back to see whether we can finance that budget, because there is a deficit of over 800 billion on that particular budget, 3.3 trillion. Ashoya, what do you take of that budget, 3.3 trillion budget for the exit of President Uhuru Kenyatta?
3.3 trillion budget isn't a very big figure, considering the country that we are, Kenya, Of course, we've seen the steady growth in our budget over the years. But then, just like as my colleague has said, this year's budget presented a very unique circumstance, whereby we are in a transition period because there's going to be change of government and change of administration in the next few months. That is one. Two, just like he said, we are looking at a situation whereby the president wants to secure his legacy, but then at the end of the day, we are also getting into a very heated political, times, and which would of course need monies that is on the part of the government. You have seen that a very big chunk of the budget has as well been dedicated to matter security. Mm-hmm. It's been a awakening call of the recent insecurity spat between Ukraine and Russia. And so most countries have now come to realize that, hey, look here, security is equally a very major thing for any other country. And that is why you've seen a very big percentage of that money is going to matter security and and all that. So if you asked me whether the common mwananchi's opinion insofar as taking care of their interests has been factored in the budget, I would say yes. And more so considering the fact that President Uhuru Kenyatta, through the Ministry of through Treasury, has gone at length to ensure that the four-point agenda that he had, substantial amounts of monies have been provided for purposes of ensuring that then there's completion of those projects. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And of course, that is an in-depth, quite an in-depth of what was in that particular budget. But again, while Okur Yatan was tabling that particular budget, there were very, very, very important concerns, such as cushioning Kenyans from the ballooning economy. Yeah. In that he had to find ways on how he could accommodate the lowering of food prices. Out of the budget that he tabled in that parliament, do we see a change in scenario where the food prices will lower, or is it just an exit budget for President Uhuru Kenyatta?
There are mechanisms that have been put in the budget to ensure that then food prices go down. And by food prices going down, you would ordinarily not have expected that then President Uhuru Kenyatta, or rather the Treasury would directly allocate monies, let's say for purposes of purchase of foods, to alleviate the situation that we have right now. What that budget is speaking to is to ensure that the factors around issues of production, like let's say fertilizer subsidies, ensuring that there is investment into industries, and things like those ones. These peripheral factors that would ultimately make a determination on the lowering of food prices have been taken care of. So if I do not understand exactly why and especially legislators from the Tanga movement would want that we have components in the budget that would directly affect, that would directly speak to the reduction of, let's say, food prices. Because you see, it becomes a bit problematic, and especially if you are to interact with economists, it becomes very difficult for a government. This is not like a house where you say if people are hungry, you'd go to the shop and purchase food, and you come and feed them. It is like a system where if people are missing food in your house, what do you do? And you are jobless. What do? You go and look for a job. And then once you have a job or a consistent stream of income, then you would have you would have a family that is consistently fed. You don't go and look for short-term remedies to address a long-term problem. Yes.
And it's a very big budget. I just want to come to you, Mr. Oleson. It's a very huge budget of 3.3 trillion shillings, and Wakili Biko talked about dwelling with all areas where areas that can be able to cushion the Kenyan people. But if you look at that particular budget, that is 3.3 trillion shillings. With the deficit of over 800 billion shillings means the Kenyan people will have to fund that budget irregardless. Right now, it seems they have been cautioned of any extra taxes. But are we seeing a scenario where now or rather the next budget, or even at some point, we'll have now to strain the Kenyan people to be able to fund that budget?
I think, first of all, I also agree what my friend Wakili Biko has said. I don't believe there is a single bullet that you can just use to lower the food prices overnight. I strongly believe that for the prices of basic commodities to go down, it also depends on other factors of production. And if you are to use the shortcut that you want, maybe the food prices to go down overnight, then we also have those short-term goals that you can use. Definitely you can decide that, look, in this budget that we want to present to Kenyans, let us offer subsidies to all the sectors, be it in the sugar sector, the maize production sector. But then remember, that's just money that you're sending to those sectors. But that will be short term. How long will you be able to finance such a strategy? Definitely, the answer is it will be short-lived. And it's sad that there is, of course, we tend to play politics with issues that we don't need to put in politics. So for me, from what the CS presented to us yesterday, I think he took drastic measures to ensure that the cost of production definitely goes down, and with if the manufacturers find that the cost of production is actually at least sustainable, then I think in the end, at the end of the day, it is the common mwananchi who is going to benefit, because when the cost of production ideally goes down, then it means that the prices of food commodities will also be down. But to add on what you, to respond on what you said, on the issue of if we will be able to finance that budget as Kenyans.
That is a big question.
That is a big question for sure. And I think now President Uhuru Kenyatta having been in office for 10 good years, cumulatively, I think he has so far spent over 20 trillion Kenyan shillings in terms of the budget that he has presented to us ever since he got into office. But then we have to look at this issue holistically, because how did we arrive at the budget of 3.3 trillion? Are Kenyans able to finance that budget? If you ask me, the answer is absolutely no. We have a scenario where in this country today, we have the rate at which we spend is more than what we can raise through revenues. So we have to resort to borrowing. And this is a problem that began with the first term of the Jubilee administration. And personally, I believe that is where the economy of Kenya started having issues. What we are currently dealing with, we are just trying to try and fix the problems that were created by the first term of the Jubilee administration. Because during that time, we saw a scenario where we went to borrow money at very expensive loans. I was checking some report, and what I read was a bit shocking, that the Kenyan government went to take loans at 7%, and then some of this money didn't even get to the Kenyan economy. Some of this money was budgeted for corruption. Money was borrowed as a loan, but it didn't really factor in the economy of the country. So we are supposed to pay what Kenyans didn't really feel the money. So I think that is where now the issue begins to pop up.
And I talked about corruption now featuring in largely on the expenditure of the budget. In that, yesterday Ukuri Atani as well was able to announce some billions of shillings to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, the DCI, the EACC, and of course saying that there's a push for making sure that we have a transparent government. But now, corruption, Mr. Biko, has featured largely in the expenditure of our budget. We talked about President Uhuru Kenyatta openly saying 2 billion shillings disappears every day. In a week, that is 14 billion. So if you calculate in a month and as well calculate in the 10 years that he has been in government, you find that is quite a lot of money. So what is our way forward? Because now corruption is something that we have to fight before we again think of funding this particular budget. Because if we go for the budget, finance the budget, money comes and lost, doesn't give back to the expectations of the Kenyans.
Let me say this, Chris. You see, a budget of any country is both it is both a political, social, legal, economic document. And why do I say so? I say so because a budget, in the first place, is emanates from the executive, yeah, and then from there it is brought to Parliament, to politicians, that is. And then thereafter, it is a process. But then, if you look, ultimately, when the budget has to be implemented, it has all these legal implications and everything. So that, and that is why it is presented as a bill in Parliament. So, when coming up with a budget, all these factors, all these things have to be factored in. The reason why I'm telling you this is we are in a political season, and I've had most Kenyans saying that they're not going to actively participate in politics, and I just want to give them, it's like a wake-up call for them, that ultimately these politics that Kenyans would not want to participate in is the same politics that would determine even the economic direction that the country is going to take. So if they don't participate in the political decision as it were right now, then they should not, in the near future or even in future, complain that that the economy is bad and things like those ones. But then that one having been said, on the issue of corruption, corruption is not, we do not have like a magic wand where you are going to wave like this and then there's no corruption, right? And especially in a country where we've been complaining about corruption for a very long period of time. It is something that that has to be dealt with systematically and slowly until when it is ultimately eradicated. We are talking about a situation whereby it is not just about the EACC, it is not just about ODPP. It is not just about judiciary. It is even about the general mindset of Kenyans. Because it is something that is now, I think it's something like it's now in our culture, that someone would engage themselves in corrupt deals and they will not even feel, they will not feel bad about it. So it is something about over and above having enabled our institutions like the EACC, like the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, like judiciary. It is a system, but then we also have to interrogate ourselves. We also have to ask ourselves as Kenyans, is it a direction that we want to proceed, having rampant or unchecked corruption? Yeah, so it is good that ODPP has been given adequate funding. It is good that EACC has been given adequate funding. But then, if we talk about the criminal justice system, because the criminal justice system starts from the point of when a criminal is arrested from the police, And then it goes all the way up until when sentencing has been done by the courts, and then they've been taken to prison. That is the whole chain of the criminal justice system. So, because I saw judiciary has been asking for enhanced funding. But then and that was a component of interest to me as a legal practitioner. I'm looking at how much monies have been given to other sectors vis-a-vis the monies that have been given to the judiciary. Because remember, at the end of the day, all these things will end up to the judiciary for the judiciary to make a determination as to whether there's been corruption or not. So funding other sectors that are peripheral or that are augmentary to judiciary, and then you don't give adequate funding to judiciary, I think that one is a mistake that we've done in our budgetary allocations for a very long time. We have to look at the whole chain. We want to fight corruption. Let us fight corruption from the point of arresting these people who are involving themselves in corruption, all the way to the prisons where we are going to be sending them once we make a determination that they are corrupt. But then at the end of the day, it is also something about our mindset as Kenyans. Yes. And
you want to add something on that?
Let me speak something about corruption. Even with this budget that we term as maybe a people-friendly budget, I strongly believe that if we don't adequately deal with the corruption, then there's nothing to smile about in this budget. And dealing with corruption, from where I sit, it is also an issue of political goodwill from the head of state. Because and this is something that Kenyans now need to come to the realization that there is, if somebody steals, they do not steal from on behalf of a community or rather a religion. If we do not have political goodwill from the head of government, then I don't think if these corruption cases can move any inch. Because we have had in the past instances where corrupt individuals have been associated with the people in leadership in government. And this is not something that just started yesterday. Even if we were not, we don't need to go back to the incidences that took place long ago. If we were to begin with this Jubilee government during the first term, we saw the level of corruption that were alleged committed by the Jubilee government. We had the Eurobond, we had the Afia House, we had the NYS scandals. And when we look at all these corruption scandals, we could, when we see the people who are presented to for prosecution, they were people actually who had been appointed by the government. And at some point, we also saw the government officials trying to defend these individuals. So then you wonder, if at all a state officer is accused of corruption, and then we have senior people in government coming out strongly to defend these people, at the end of the day, how do you expect these people to come to the wheels of justice, and then maybe we can be able to realize where the funds disappear to? Number two, we need to have very strong. We need to have strong institutions that deal with corruption, because my one is in the recent past we have seen very strong disagreements between the DCI and the office of the DPP.
Yes.
We have even had cases that have gone to court. They have been defeated in court because of the disagreement between the DCI and the office of the Director of Public Prosecution. So, as legislators sit in Parliament, I think it's also in their role that we need to have a clear boundary between the roles of the DCI and the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. Because these infights eventually affects the prosecution of the cases in courts. Most of the people who've been taken to court on corruption allegations, they have been set free. These cases, of course, the DCI will make the arrest. The office of the DPP will say the DCI didn't prepare adequate evidence for us to go and prosecute this case in court. And eventually, if you take weak evidence to court, you do not expect the courts to rule against the weak evidence presented. So we end up letting off the hook people who will have ended up in jail because of corruption. And people will tend to take advantage of the weak institutions of government that are meant to fight corruption to perpetuate these corruption deals. Mm-hmm. So unless we deal with that, I think we still have a long way to go. And the very last issue, Kenyans also need to come to realization that corruption hurts. And maybe we are where we are economically because of corruption. And I think, to me, that is a fact. But what happens with Kenyans again, which is very much interesting, I think that is an isolated case in Kenya only, mm-hmm. because Kenyans tend to reward people who are heroes of corruption. Mm-hmm. Because for you to win a seat in any part of this country, you just need to be mentioned in a corruption case. And you will navigate yourself around the corridors of justice. You will find a way how you will get off that. Then you will go back to the people and tell them, you see, I'm a hero. And with, of course, the money that you have been able to get from those deals, the people will reward you. Mm-hmm. We have several places in this country. You can check and see, indeed, Kenyans have a role to play.
And talking about the corruption issue and also what is affecting the country at large, there's something that the Deputy President William Ruto said this week in regards to, the fuel prices, and you would believe, rather deny what he said, because I believe he sits in a very bigger table than any of us in this particular news studio, and he came out with some things that he said, and I want us to take a look at what the Deputy President said earlier this week, coinciding with the budget reading this particular morning, as well in his speech criticizing the National Treasury. But this is what the DP said in regards to the fuel prices, or rather the fuel shortage that has been experienced all through this week.
The people telling us about Ukraine and Russia are also telling us that there is no shortage of fuel. They are also trying to blame oil marketers. So they are even conflicted in the reasons why we have an artificial crisis in the country. Can the Treasury also confirm or deny that the diversion of funds has been used in debt servicing and infrastructure development without the approval of the National Assembly? Can the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum list the import quotas that have been allocated to oil marketers over the last 1 year, and which are these oil marketers by name? Fuel prices are unprecedented and are not due to ordinary market responses to global crude oil price dynamics. Our problem is cruder and more local. This is the result of collusion between monopolistic cartels and economic saboteurs on one hand, and oblivious, reckless, insensitive, and incompetent public officials on the other. Insatiable greed and corruption is driving us over the cliff. The current state of affairs is a clear manifestation of the vestiges of the conflict of interest and state capture that is now pervasive in all sectors of our economy.
All right, and that is what Deputy President William Ruto had to say in regards to the fuel prices, mentioning some critical things there. And I don't know if you heard what the Deputy President said, that this is a capture, this is a state capture as well. This is people who are telling us there is a larger problem, but our problem has been locally manufactured. Do we all agree that our problem, as much as it might be speaking from a political point of view and political difference, is it a politically or rather a locally manufactured problem? Because as we took that clip, we were talking about corruption hindering the implementation of our budget. Deputy President, from where he sits in a very larger table and coming out to say this is a locally manufactured problem that we could get rid of it. Is that also another factor that corruption has played in our economy, Mr. Biko?
The fuel crisis or the fuel problem that we have currently is what I would want to call it's a hybrid problem. It's been caused by both local factors as well as factors that may not necessarily be within the control of Kenya as a country. Of course, we can't close our eyes to whatever is happening in the global market insofar as fuel is concerned, because even our neighbors, you saw the president of Tanzania coming up the other day and telling Tanzanians that we should not close our eyes to whatever is happening in the global scene. So yes, it is true that there's been it has been destabilized. The oil flow in the international market has been destabilized. But then on the other hand, we also, if we were to give it a local perspective, the question that we would be asking ourselves, the war between, let's say, Russia and Ukraine has hardly lasted for a month. Does that then mean that we do not have strategic reserves as a country to cushion Kenyans? What if the war in Ukraine was to persist for the next 12 months? Are we going to be crippled as a country? And what mechanisms have we put in place as a country to ensure that then Kenyans are cushioned in case there is instability in the international market? The other day, the CEO of Kenya Pipeline Corporation, or Kenya Pipeline, in any KPC, Kenya Pipeline Company, came out and said that in our strategic reserves we have like 93 million liters of petrol, 78 million liters of diesel. I don't know how many million liters of kerosene and jet fuel. So it would appear like it is even coming from government that we indeed have fuel. We indeed have fuel. The only other thing that then the question then that we shall be asking ourselves is, if government is admitting that we have fuel in our strategic reserves, why then don't we have fuel in our pumps? Right? And that is now where the question of the oil marketers, and the subsidies comes in. So it would then appear that the oil marketers were promised a subsidy which subsidy was never given to them. And that is why you saw the president the other day sign, was it 23 billion for purposes of the subsidy. And then we were reassured that within a very short period of time, these crises, what they're calling the artificial crisis that the country is experiencing right now, would go away. Of course, driving this morning to these studios, and even as I was going home yesterday in the evening, was unlike on Thursday I spent 1.5 hours at a petrol station at 10 in the night trying to access fuel. But then I'm looking at most petrol stations this morning. We don't have all those long queues. So it means that the crisis that we experienced in the last 1 week is now starting, is now starting to ease out. So the crisis that we have, in conclusion, is both. I think it was just panic, because in the international market there was this rumors that the price per barrel was going up, and then we also had our own internal affairs to sort out with the issues of the oil marketers and all that. Yes. And
I just want to come to you, Oleso, because as well time is also running, and my director tells me we have some few minutes left. I just want to understand from where you sit, and adding to what Mr. Biko has been able to put out, that as much as you may say we have a larger problem, of course fuel has direct impact to our economy. But the DP was out clear to say that we have locally manufactured our problem. I know you may differ with him politically, but do you agree that we have a problem that is locally manufactured?
First of all, I'm not surprised by the sentiments by the DP. Of course, he's running for office, and we understand where those statements come from. But my concern will be, I will want to understand from which position is William Ruto complaining. Is he complaining as an ordinary citizen or as a deputy president? Because one of the tragedies we have in this country is where elected leaders who ought to be offering solution come to cry with other Kenyans. So you then get confused that if a deputy president will go on media to lament just like any other ordinary Kenyan, then where should the solution come from? Because we expect the deputy president to be giving solution as opposed to making lamentations like other Kenyans. But then when we come to the real issue of fuel and whether it is locally manufactured, the reality is this, that out of the 10 shillings we collect in form of revenue, 6 shillings goes to pay the Kenyan debt. But again, even if we were to dwell on that, we will still ask questions that when this debt was being borrowed, was the DP part of the process that was taking this loan? Especially during the first term, because a lot of propaganda has been peddled around to suggest that the government borrowed hugely in the second term than it did in the first term. That is a fallacy. That is a lie. Figures are there. We all know that this government borrowed hugely during the first term, which we can actually say the DP was part and parcel. He cannot run away from that fact. And if these things were happening during his tenure, where does he then get the moral ground to come and tell us that maybe some funds may have been diverted to repay a loan? And from where I sit, I think how I understand is that most of the loans this government has taken during their second term, actually for me, I will say that it was necessary because we were in a pandemic. COVID-19 was around, and we saw a lot of efforts by President Kenyatta to just try and balance the Kenyan economy and dealing with the pandemic. So he had to borrow because at that time we were at an economic meltdown. Of course, we were not collecting revenue, businesses were down, and everything was just on its knees. So there was no way the president would have steered the country into progress without taking these loans.
Okay.
So if at the end of the day, now the deputy president disassociates himself from what the problem he was part and parcel, and then comes to say that he is seeking answers from government, I think I will say that is being very dishonest, and especially for someone who we are looking forward to be possibly, he could be the president, but then if that is the person who is running to be office, and we can see him speaking from both sides of his mouth, then it leaves us questioning that is this the kind of leader we would want to be the president of the Republic of Kenya? Okay. I think
and because you have wrapped it up, I just want us to take 1 minute and conclude the discussion. But as much as we've talked about the entire budget, funding of different sectors, and the priorities of the budget and its impact and implications to the Kenyan people. Just as we conclude this particular discussion, and just briefly from you, Biko, I want to take your parting shot in regards to generally as we conclude and the budget that was tabled in the August House by the CS Treasury Ukuri Atani. Is that a good signature as President Uhuru Kenyatta now exits the presidency?
An in-depth interrogation of the Constitution as presented yesterday. It is my opinion that it is a fairly good document. In the circumstances that we find ourselves in as a country, it is a fairly good document. It tries to strike a balance with the uniqueness that we find ourselves as a country right now.
Okay.
From issues of education, from issues of health, we are looking at the issues of food security. When you look at issues of the elections that we are going to face, infrastructure and development. For me, it's a fairly good document.
Okay.
If well implemented, and if we do away with the corruption that then steals monies from our budget, then if it is properly implemented, it's a fairly good document.
Okay.
We should now focus on implementing it.
Okay.
Yes.
And to you, Leso, just briefly in 30 seconds, like what is your take on the final budget of President Uhuru Kenyatta as we even conclude?
The final budget of President Uhuru Kenyatta, I think it is. I could say that I will commend it because briefly, we have seen areas where he has specified that I really need to focus in these areas, and most of those areas are one that seek to ensure that he completes his Big Four agenda. And also, apart from his Big Four agenda, it's also covering the three basic areas of education, health, and affordable cost of living. And therefore, I think if that will be well implemented, also factoring in mind that the next president is going to implement this budget, I think as Kenyans, in the long run, we are going to appreciate what President Uhuru Kenyatta has done for the past 10 years he has been in office. And lastly, we may not really see what President Uhuru Kenyatta has done today because he really invested in long-term projects. But I think 5-10 years after his exit, Kenyans will begin to appreciate that indeed President Uhuru Kenyatta really worked for this country.
And thank you so much, gentlemen, for also making time to come and have this particular discussion. I understand that time has far much gone. Of course, this is a discussion that will continue to unravel as days goes on, because we wait and see the implications of that budget. On my near right is Oleso Odhiambo, is a political strategist, and far right is Bikwa Shoya, who is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. And that is where we wind up this particular discussion. But before we take a very short break, we proceed to our commercial break, but I leave you with the Kenyan perspective this week on our morning program. This is Kirk TV in the morning. Remember, we're also streaming live on Facebook at Kirk TV Kenya and YouTube at Kirk TV Kenya, but this is the Kenyan perspective.
For a week now, the country's economy seemed to have been clinging on a collapsing end, with the whole country at large experiencing a drastic shortage of fuel at the pumps. Motorists and civilians queuing for long hours at the fuel pumps, all in a wait of this now considered as the most valuable product in the country.
I was here by around 8 a.m. but I want to request our able president to intervene on this.
Kenyans who fully rely on the fuel products ranting on the rough experience of the situation. Nothing left to smile about.
Ambayo inaweza pata mafuta. Kwa hivyo tunalilia serikali iharakishe chochote ambayo kinasababisha kusikue na mafuta, ili ifanye haraka, ili nazi tuache kwenda hasara, sababu ukiwa na gari 3 zimerara, gari 4, gari 20 kwa kila sako, watu wengi watatoka kwa barabara sababu ya shida ya mafuta.
Kwa hapa saa 11 asubuhi nikaambiwa fuel itaanza kupigwa saa 1:30. Nimekaa hapa mpaka saa hizi inaelekea saa 5. Mimi ni mfanyabiashara. Biashara zangu zimesimama, hakuna kitu yoyote ambayo naona mbele wala nyuma. Saa hizi tunaelekea wakati ambapo ni mgumu sana kwa wazazi kama sisi. Tunaona kama tuko na watoto ambao wanaenda shuleni. Tunahitaji pesa.
Unfortunately, what Kenyans expected to level up within a short period of time, things turned to be more messy towards the end of the week. This ugly situation bringing together politicians and mwananchi, all in search of who to blame on the fuel shortage in the country. Leaders like the Deputy President William Samoei Ruto and Speaker of the National Assembly Justin Muturi blasting out the situation, claiming that the situation could be linked to some cartels who want to tear apart the country's economy. But what really transpired the situation? Who is to blame? A lot of conspiracy on the fuel shortage in the country, but today we focused on one distinctive cause. Back in 2020, the Petroleum and Mining Ministry revealed the levies increasing it to 5 shillings and 40 cents per 1 litre of petrol from 40 cents, while expanding its mandate by including a price stabilizing component for diesel. On Saturday last week, the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority said the government was yet to compensate oil marketers 13 billion Kenya shillings arrears. The acute fuel shortage in the country has attracted the President Uhuru Kenyatta to pen down a bill that streamed 34.4 billion Kenya shillings to the oil subsidy kitty meant to cushion consumers from the fuel prices in the global market. Leveling out the situation, Kenya Pipeline Company Managing Director claims that there is no fuel shortage in the country. Just a little sort-outs with the government, and the oil dealers will release fuel from its depots. Drawing conclusions from these sentiments, it is clear that Kenya fuel depots are full, and the only part remaining is left for the government to settle the arrears. But the question still remains: did the government really have to wait until the oil dealers decry out their demands for their debt to be settled? Dennis Munene for Kirk TV.
PCA Ongata Booth Girls High School of Excellence is an outstanding girls boarding high school ideal for learning. Located in a quiet and serene environment in Ongata Rongai, Kajiado County. The school aims to produce highly qualified students who will be readily admitted to world-class high institutions of learning and graduate into outstanding citizens of integrity.
We offer quality education in conformity with the Ministry of Education standards and guidelines. Our tutors are highly qualified and experienced. Our school fees is friendly. We have considered the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic.
We are appealing to you that you enroll your girls in Form 1, Form 2 and Form 3. Our school is founded on Christian background, and we are surely assuring you that when you bring your girl, you will not regret.
Founded and grounded on Christian values, discipline is one of its fundamental values.
We take care of our girls spiritually. We have a church just across here where they worship every Sunday, and in between the week we have a very, very strong Christian union and other activities that they also run. We really encourage you to bring your children here that they may get the experience of learning in a Christian environment.
The school boasts of modern state-of-the-art facilities such as spacious classrooms, a well-equipped library, science and computer laboratories, a dining hall and a modern kitchen with a robust feeding program. We take keen interest in nurturing students' talents, hence our semi-Olympic sized swimming pool and spacious fields.
When looking for a school where your daughter can go through a transformative process of education, do not look beyond PCEA Ongata Booth Girls High School of Excellence. Give us the girl and we will give you back a holistic lady of dignity and integrity.
PCEA Wangige Church cordially invites you all to a fundraising in aid of the construction of a new sanctuary. It will be a mega church from this to this glorious sanctuary with modern facilities. The fundraising ceremony will be held on 10th of April 2022 from 10 a.m. at PCEA Wengige Church. Send in your contribution via paybill number 400-222, 400-222, account number 1069725, hash followed by your name. Acts chapter 20 verse 35. In everything I did, I showed you that this kind of hard work we must help the weak. Remembering the word of the Lord Jesus said himself, it is more blessed to give than to receive. For more information, call 0751 51 6677.
My name is Reverend David Jogona Mudhui. I am the Parish Minister, Baraka Parish, and the chaplain to Ogata Booth Girls High School. I want to give a success story of our advert in Kirk TV that sometimes in November we ran some adverts of our school, and we can tell you for sure that this advert brought a lot of impact to our school. Our enrollment at that time, we had 27 students, and through that advert, we are now at 50. We want to thank God because Kirk TV has reached out to very, very many people. We have a lot of people who have made inquiries, and taking that was third term and the schools were almost closing, we are very hopeful that the many contacts that have contacted us are going to join us this new school year.
We want to thank Kirk TV so much for the advert that they did for us. They really gave us ample time, and the photos that they took were awesome. They've been doing the marketing for us, and we've really gained from this. Since that time, we've been able to get more students. The number added from 25 to 50. We are grateful, and we believe that Kirk is doing a wonderful job. We are therefore appealing to other people, other institutions to market their work through Kirk TV.
Kirk TV is a big, big blessing to us as a church, to all business people, to anybody who has something that he can make an advert in the Kirk TV. We welcome you to do those adverts. May God bless you. God bless Kirk TV. God bless our church.
Are you looking to grow a business? Kirk TV offers you a variety of advertising opportunities to suit your budget. Advertise with us today and reach your potential customers countrywide. For more information, email us on sales@kirktv.org or call 0794 588 054.
All right, and welcome back again to Kirk in the Morning, where we've been talking on matters to do with the state of the nation. But right about now, I want us to switch the gears and get the program going. And on this week's episode of our weekly Health Insights, our reporter Aida Monzatsi has been able to prepare something for you. And this is what we have on our segment.
Today, we are witnessing the commissioning of the Kenya Defence Forces Ciuolo Regional Hospital. And as we do so conveying a grateful nation's immense gratitude to you, our brave sons and daughters of Kenya, and your families for dutifully serving as members of our defense force. Your courage, duty, service, and sacrifice represents the very best of Kenya, and without doubt is an inspiration to us all. Every day, our military personnel defend our country and our way of life, including by responding to natural disasters, as well as contributing to international peace, security, and stability. I am therefore most honored to be in your company today as we witness another remarkable accomplishment in the life of our military. The KDF Ciuolo Regional Hospital adds to the Level 4 hospital established at Kahawa Garrison and the Trauma and Counseling Center at Manda in Lamu County, the Wellness Center located in Langata Barracks, and we are also in various stages of construction of other facilities, including one in Eldoret, which, as the CDF has said we shall be opening soon, another in Roiro for our prison service, and another at Magathi in Nairobi for our Kenya Police Service. In addition to these facilities, the upgrade of the Forces Memorial Hospital to a Level 5 facility is currently on course, as is the ongoing construction of the Level 6 hospital for the Defense Forces located off Wayaki Way in Nairobi. The facility behind us will provide Level 4 specialized services, including surgical, internal medicine, obstetric, gynecological services, pediatric services, and critical care to service members and their families within this region. This will reduce the time taken and resources used to travel all the way to Nairobi, as was the case previously. All these healthcare reforms for the disciplined forces are in tandem with my administration's agenda on the universal health coverage, which has concurrently witnessed improvements in facilities and services offered to our civilian population.
And that is what we had on the Health Insight segment. The President Uhuru Kenyatta leading the opening of the Kenya Defense Forces Level 5 hospital that will be catering for the men in uniform, one of its kind hospital that will be used by the Kenya Defense Forces. And that is where we wind it up on the Health Insight. And now we cross into our segment of entrepreneurship, where this week I'll be talking to the Chief Executive Officer of Rafiki Pest Control Limited, who is Moria Kibegwa. Welcome to the program, Mr. Moria.
Thank you.
And this morning we'll be seeking to talk about, of course, the pest control is one that is in every home. Yeah. Either you have the cockroaches, the house flies, the fruit flies as well, yes, and all sort of pests. But this morning we have you in studio to also help us and also help each and every person that is watching on how they can be able to maneuver in such circumstances. So I just want us to begin the discussion and make us understand about the Rafiki Pest Control.
Rafiki Pest Control is a dynamic company that actually has come in to change the experience on how people handle pests. Because pests have been here for quite a while, since time immemorial, but how we handle it actually has been a problem, because we've really caused a lot of problems by not handling them the right way. And so we've actually come in, just bringing technology and ensuring that we give people a different experience on how to live comfortably. Because previously people could maybe live with bed bugs and think it's a norm, but we just have to ensure we keep all pests away from our residentials. Yes.
You've talked about bed bugs. That is one of the biggest pests that people don't know much about it. Yeah. Take us through identification of such pests, such as bed bugs, and as well, for instance, someone who wants to begin, eradicating them. Where do they begin from?
Bed bugs actually have been very constant and have been very resistant to a lot of chemicals. So new approaches actually are needed to ensure that you get rid of them completely in the right way. And so identifying them is very easy, because they always feed on blood and dust and also carbon monoxide. So mostly they'll be found where people sleep and people sit. And so identifying them is very easy. Just the activities can be seen when maybe you have a white bed sheet, and when you wake up in the morning, you'll see red spots or blood spots. That means actually they've been biting you, and they're actually going to hide. And also maybe if you see black spots around your mattress area or other places, you actually realize that you have the presence of bed bugs. So that's really the first step. Identification is the first step. And now you have to get the right way to eradicate them. And the best way to eradicate them is to target their breeding areas and ensuring that you've dealt with them extremely done. Because if you leave only one, then that infestation will come back again. Yes.
And you talked about them being resistant to different chemicals, and targeting and using alternative ways as well to multiply the methods of eradicating them. What are some of the methods that are now being employed to tame or rather to eradicate resistant pests such as the bed bugs?
Yeah, so the first bit actually is the use of chemicals, but we have safe chemicals actually that have been approved by the government to be used for public health. The other bit now should come now heat. Use of heat also, it's a non-chemical way that actually helps to treat these. And also the other bit is hygiene, just normal hygiene, just by ensuring every week you just have like some general cleaning of the house, really helps to counter the breeding cycle of the bugs. So that also helps you to just all that combine. Actually, you have to combine all the three methods to ensure that you can be having some good results.
And different from bed bugs, which other common pests that do people now have to battle them in their homes?
Mostly cockroaches and mosquitoes. Cockroaches, you see, the only issue with cockroaches actually they come through the sewer system. You know, the whole of like the Nairobi metropolitan actually is being serviced by like a common sewer system. So when these roaches breed in the sewer system, actually they can easily get access to your residential through the drains and sinks, the toilet sinks or the kitchen sinks. And that's actually one problem. And the other issue with mosquitoes is you know, we have a lot of stagnant water here and there, so actually the breeding areas are so wide, and so we can be able to be affected by mosquitoes also. Yes.
And so for things such as mosquitoes and cockroaches, these are unlike the bed bugs, which are very resistant to the common ways of handling them, such as the cockroaches. For someone who would be watching, and I would say like instantly they've been able to notice pests such as cockroaches, how they begin eradicating them from where they are at that particular moment?
So the best way is exclusion. Exclusion, you can exclude actually roaches from coming to your place by ensuring that when you shop things from the supermarket, you don't really bring in a lot of stuff and trash. The other bit also, it is ensure that all the sinks have stoppers such that nothing actually can come from the drain back into the house. The other, for mosquitoes exclusion, we have a new method where we use a magnetic mosquito mesh that we install in windows and doors. That actually helps to ensure that no mosquito actually comes in. So as much as actually it's like you not do fumigation, then there's a non-chemical way of preventing mosquitoes or any other flying insect actually from accessing a house. So the new method actually for mosquitoes is it's the magnetic mosquito mesh. Yes.
And for cockroaches is just blocking their way in.
Yes.
What if you notice them already they are in your premises? How do you maneuver now from there?
The best way actually is to always call an expert, because a slight mishandling of the roaches, they'll get resistant to that method. So the best way is just to ensure that you find an expert who actually, maybe the public health experts or pest control experts, just like Rafiki Pest Control. Then they can be able to give you an advice depending actually on the level of infestation or how actually, because no, we have to carry out a survey to be able to give a better idea or advice on how you can handle, because every situation is different. Yes.
And all through along, you know, trying to eradicate the pests such as the cockroaches, the mosquitoes, houseflies, the fruit flies. Those are some of the annoying pests that you find them in your home, and also the bed bugs. What is the procedure of seeking an expert to be able to where they begin, from where right to begin up until where now you come to the home of a person or rather their premises, and be able to help them in battling the pests?
Yeah, lately technology has changed, and so the only way out actually you can just be able to get experts online. You just give them a call and they'll ask you a few questions actually to begin with to ensure that you're dealing with the right pest. They can also send pictures via WhatsApp to ensure that you've identified the pest right, because you might think it's a bed bug but it's not. And so that's the first step. Once you do that, then you can be able to organize for a short survey. Then once we come forward to a place and do a short survey, we can advise on the best method to move forward with. Then now we can be able now to proceed on the treatment that you would have chosen by that time. Yes.
So does someone make the choices of I just want the use of chemicals or other alternatives?
We give all the alternatives depending actually on the situation. At times you might find that a client actually might be allergic to others, so we give a few options, then we sit down and discuss to ensure that we've given you the best and value for actually what you're going to spend on.
Because for instance,
try a payment plan or a program plan. Let's say if we cannot be able to do all the 3 treatments at once, then we can, because different pests have different life cycles, so we can actually choose to get rid of the life cycle at once. Or actually we can still give them time, but it should not really surpass a given period of time. Like mostly 2 weeks is the maximum, so that they actually don't also get to the mature stage. So if we can be able to counter them within the weeks, we can be able to get that. Or alternatively, we can be able to have an service agreement where actually we complete the whole service. Then now you can tell us we give you a 30 days grace period, then you go to complete, because now we are here to help people. So we always listen to everybody and understand their needs. Yes.
And apart from there's been the use of chemical for me, but there's been the employment of different methods such as the ultrasound, that the use of the heat and all that.
Yeah.
At this point, and from what you've been able to see, would you recommend the use of heat in taming the pests?
Actually, why we actually introduced exclusion methods, where actually it can actually prevent this from happening. Then actually that ensures that you've used less of the chemicals. So here, chemicals are not always good, because all chemicals are, some chemicals are some slightly radioactive, or a slight mistake actually can be hazardous. Yes.
And I just want to understand, how expensive is it eradicating pests in your home when you want to seek an expert?
It's very affordable. Now, this always depends on the size of the place to be done, and also the type of pest and the number of actually services to be done. So it's relative. It's not a fixed price, because also location also matters. So all this I can say, we don't have a fixed rate. All rates are flexible, and actually they can be negotiated down or up depending on the situation on ground. Yes.
And because this is a business that involves you dealing with direct client and also dealing with the homes of people. Yes. Definitely there has to be challenges. What are some of the challenges when it comes to fighting pests in people's homes and residences from the expert's view?
Maybe mostly just compliance to the recommendations we give. We might actually find someone actually might be doing something wrong, let's say maybe piling dirt in one side, and you tell them this actually is what attracts these rats, or this is what actually gets the roaches. So the best way is get rid of this, but might end up that after some time they've actually not done that. So that actually becomes a problem. Mostly just compliance, but all in all, we've been able to work with people well, because now we always have the right communication channels, so we have everything right. Yes.
Of course, since you started the Rafiki Pest Control, it's been on and on involvement with different people, and you've seen people that have come to you seeking help in regards to fighting pests. I just want to know what up until now, at what percentage would you rate Kenyans that seek experts advice or other experts help in fighting pests?
Lately the trend has changed. People actually have opted to take a professional level of handling this, because they've tried this by themselves and actually it has failed. I can say it's above 50%. We talk about 50%. People actually are now appreciating the expertise in handling this pest, because it has always been effective. Yes.
I was talking to someone and they were saying that at some point they had the infestation of the bed bugs, and they had to, put everything out and throw away and now move into a new place and come in with new things. Is that an effective way of again battling the pests?
It might not work, because you might actually throw the furniture off but actually carry one bed bug in your closet or actually in part of your bags. Then you go start a new infestation. The best way, before you throw any furniture out, ensure it's treated. Just ensure you treat your house before either you move into a new house or you actually throw your furniture out. But there's no need of throwing, because actually that's expensive. It's cheaper to treat than to buy new furniture. Yes.
Talking of treatment, you get into a house of a client, and they haven't been. I want us let's measure with the bed bugs, because bed bugs tend to hide, and like cockroaches that you will see them running all over. They tend to hide. You get into the home of a person, and now you have to begin the treatment. What and what do you treat, and where do you begin from, citing that the person maybe has said, I found bed bugs in my bedroom or in my sitting room. So where do you start from?
The first thing, actually, we carry out a survey using UV light, because they tend to be, bed bugs tend to shine under UV light. The parts actually can be traced using UV light. So once we do a thorough survey using UV light in all the beds and sitting room and curtain areas, once we do that, then we can be able now to know where actually to put more emphasis and more effort, because they must be having one breeding point. So once we do the short survey and marked up the place, then now we proceed to do the treatment. But mostly it's the bed area, the sitting room area, curtain area, just the entire house. We have to do the entire house. Yes.
And of course, going all through the entire house, different people have different ways of how they live.
Yes.
Some people embrace the use of furniture, others embrace the use of metallic households items. When you between the person who has the metallic households and the ones with the furniture, who is more likely to get infested with the bed bugs, and how can they be able to maneuver from such?
Both. Bed bugs actually that doesn't really have a choice. What they only look for, if actually you have a metallic, then they'll actually hibernate on the mattress more, and also the hinges, because when a welding is done, it's not really perfectly welded, so we have some cracks that actually they can use to stay inside the metallic rod. So both actually they're prone to that, because we still have mattresses, so they can actually hide in the mattress areas. So both, there's no way out like metallic or wooden. But wooden is more prone because it has a lot of spaces. Yes.
So the issue here is the spaces in between the furnitures.
Yes.
So that is where you find most of this space hiding in. And now, because the metallic, I'm trying to figure out the metallic perhaps would not have so many cracks.
Yes.
Would you recommend for people to reduce the infestation of such bed bugs, or rather the cockroaches, another form of pests that are always in our homes? Would you recommend the use of metallic households?
Not really, because now that actually comes in now to lifestyle preference. Everybody actually should choose on what they want, because not everybody would prefer a metallic bed, and not everybody would prefer a wooden bed. So regardless of actually on the lifestyle you choose, the only way is actually to take precautions before you get the infestation. That includes if you go to any safari, like maybe going to a hotel, when you come, ensure to check in your luggages to ensure that you're not carrying anything. When you get into matatus and get off, ensure to check yourself you're not carrying anything. So those are, if you have visitors, just ensure that maybe if you get your house maybe in 6 months, after every 6 months, that actually it really keeps you off than actually to change your lifestyle entirely by maybe using metallic or wooden furniture. Yes.
And there's a cycle. You talked about a cycle of these pests and their breeding phases. You can try and fight them right now and still have one of them, and they breed again and again. What is the lifespan of pests?
Every pest actually have different life cycle. Like a cockroach actually, which has also, the German cockroach has been a bit resistant because it can even stay without its head for 7 days. So like every pest actually has its own cycle, and for bed bug actually it can stay for even 6 months without maybe having any blood. So that means you leaving the house for 6 months and coming back wouldn't really kill them. They'll hibernate and wait for you, then they just continue the cycle. Yes.
Do you only need one bed bug to be able to have an infestation in the entire house?
Yes, one pregnant bed bug actually can really cause chaos in your house.
Like one bed bug, how many bed bugs can it give birth, or lay eggs or whatever?
They can actually lay eggs up to 3,000.
3,000?
Yeah, 3,000.
That is one bed bug?
Yes, one bed
So
bug.
assuming you have like 5 pregnant bed bugs?
You'd really be doomed by having a lot of bed bugs.
And it's so difficult, for someone to be able to, to figure out and find such pests. And I'm talking about bed bug because bed bug is what has infested so many people, and people don't have knowledge about it because I also didn't, at some point earlier on, I also didn't know how a bed bug looks until I was able to, try and search and find at least this is how they look. Is it so difficult, eradicating such pests?
Yeah, it is. And so the only way to identify, because the looks actually might change depending on the environment. Sometimes actually if it has not fed, it might be white. And if it has fed, maybe it will be dark red or brown. So the best way actually is to take a picture and send this to an expert. Like for us, we have WhatsApp. Just send the picture via WhatsApp and we can help you identify it, because we do it for free. We help you identify that. We only charge when we give you a solution. Yes.
And if someone comes to you just by telling you, they're not seeking your services, but they're seeking your expertise, perhaps they would just call and ask, I'm having this and this particular pest, and I would want you to recommend for me a chemical that I can be able to use. Do you recommend chemicals, or rather, do you offer expertise services?
We do both. We've actually, many people call in and they say, yes, actually I just need a person to do it by myself. Yeah, so actually we've also rolled out a program where actually it's a fully do-it-yourself. We've given expertise information, like you can do these. So that's actually just this to help when you're not actually not in a position to get professional services. You can actually do it yourself to maintain the levels of the infestation down. So we have a program where for do-it-yourself. You only go to our website, you check, then you can be able to see what fits you, then you can choose. Yes.
You can choose for yourself the chemicals. And as we also come to the conclusion of this particular program in a few minutes, I want you to tell the viewer who is watching how they would find such services, and perhaps in finding the services, where they would start to make sure that they get the services of an expert.
Yeah, the best thing is you just go online and Google Rafiki Pest Control. You'll actually be able to find our contacts and get to know more about us. But also you can reach out to us at 0717 819 204. We are found online. We are digital. We are all over. Yes.
And as you also conclude now this particular segment, what is your final advice, or rather, what is your final take in regards to pest control that you can be able to tell the viewer in 1 minute?
One thing is whenever actually you've actually found like you have an infestation, just ensure to seek professional services. That actually will prevent you from making the pest more resistant to a given method, and that also will reduce the levels of risks that actually come with that particular pest. And the use of chemicals by yourself, sometimes if you don't have expertise advice, then actually you might end up ruining things in your house, because actually you might find the chemical getting to places like food areas in the kitchen that now might end up being poisonous. Yes.
And thank you so much for making time to come this particular morning and shed more light on pest control. Because I know so many people have been informed, even the ones behind the studio. I know they have been able to grasp one or two things. As much as I might have researched enough to be able to understand pest control, I think there's so much to learn about pests, because I didn't know as well the cycle. One pregnant bed bug has like 2,000. Talked about 2,000?
3,000 eggs.
3,000 eggs.
Yes.
So that means you, in a span of 10 minutes, you have 4,000?
Yes.
That is terrible. But again, thank you so much for making time this particular morning. Moria Kibegwa is the Chief Executive Officer of Rafiki Pest Control Limited. You can be sure to check them out, and in case you need their services, they are there to offer those particular services to you in regards to pest control. And that is where we wind up this particular discussion on entrepreneurship, hoping that we've been able to pick one or two things. Remember, I'll also be sampling your feedback on our SMS number, that is 0711220044, and you can send in your questions there, and I'll also be forwarding them so that you can get the right response as you get them, as you want them. I would want to know what you feel about this particular discussion and what you have been able to grasp from our talk this morning. So we take a very short break, but after this short break, we switch gears now and get into our entertainment segment. This week, you don't need to miss, because our next guest is a great one.
Idoville Trust Girls Secondary School is a Catholic day and boarding school run by Our Lady of Charity of Idoville Trust.
Idoville Girls Secondary School is one of the best schools to be in.
Our school has all kinds of girls. We are able to have girls from all parts of this country, and when they are with us, you wouldn't realize that they belong to which part of tribe or denomination. Our school is able to cater for all the students that come to us.
We have partial sponsorship and those retaking KCSE exams. Intake for junior secondary school starts next year. We are situated at Donholm Phase 8, right turn off Jacaranda Roundabout, 500 meters from Greenspan Mall. For more information, contact us on 0728 403 149 or 0719 836 923. Or email us on idovillegirlssc@gmail.com. Idoville Trust Girls Secondary School, quest for excellence.
Hakuna Mungu kama wewe Bwana. Hakuna Mungu kama wewe Bwana.
Kirk TV welcomes you all to an overnight Kesha this Friday, the 8th of April 2022 from 9 p.m. at PCA Ciuolo Church. The service will reflect on the theme Destroying Strongholds from 2 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 4. The Kesha session will be hosted by Reverend Francis Njoroge, who is the parish minister, and the sermon will be delivered by JJ Mwaniki, the student minister.
Kulikuwa na siku nzuri ambazo watu walikimbia kufika kanisani na walipenda kanisa. Siku hizi hata kwenda kanisa unajikokota, unasema sina psych. Ndio maana hili somo ninasema Mungu turejeshe. Umetutupa wakati mwingi sana.
Join us for a spiritual praise and worship experience which will be graced by guest singer Francis Kogi. Tune in live on Kirk TV on Signet, Kirk TV Kenya on Facebook and YouTube to fellowship with us.
PCA Ongata Booth Girls High School of Excellence is an outstanding girls boarding high school ideal for learning. Located in a quiet and serene environment in Ongata Rongai, Kajiado County. The school aims to produce highly qualified students who will be readily admitted to world-class high institutions of learning and graduate into outstanding citizens of integrity.
We offer quality education in conformity with the Ministry of Education standards and guidelines. Our tutors are highly qualified and experienced. Our school fees is friendly. We have considered the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic.
We are appealing to you that you enroll your girls in Form 1, Form 2 and Form 3. Our school is founded on Christian background, and we are surely assuring you that when you bring your girl, you will not regret.
Founded and grounded on Christian values, discipline is one of its fundamental values.
We take care of our girls spiritually. We have a church just across here where they worship every Sunday, and in between the week, we have a very, very strong Christian union and other activities that they also run. We really encourage you to bring your children here that they may get the experience of learning in a Christian environment.
The school boasts of modern state-of-the-art facilities such as spacious classrooms, a well-equipped library, science and computer laboratories, a dining hall and a modern kitchen with a robust feeding program. We take keen interest in nurturing students' talents, hence our semi-Olympic sized swimming pool and spacious fields.
When looking for a school where your daughter can go through a transformative process of education, do not look beyond PCEA Ogata Booth Girls High School of Excellence. Give us the girl and we will give you back a holistic lady of dignity and integrity.
PCEA Wangige Church cordially invites you all to a fundraising in aid of the construction of a new sanctuary. It will be a mega church from this to this glorious sanctuary with modern facilities. The fundraising ceremony will be held on 10th of April 2022 from 10 a.m. at PCEA Wangige Church. Send in your contribution via paybill number 400-222, 400-222, account number 10675 by and
of education, do not look beyond PCEA Ogata Booth Girls High School of Excellence. Give us the girl and we will give you back a holistic lady of dignity and integrity.
PCEA Wangige Church cordially invites you all to a fundraising in aid of the construction of a new sanctuary. It will be a mega church from this to this glorious sanctuary with modern facilities. The fundraising ceremony will be held on 10th of April 2022 from 10 a.m. at PCEA Wangige Church. Send in your contribution via paybill number 400-222, 400-222, account number 1069725, hash followed by your name. Acts chapter 20 verse 35. In everything I did, I showed you that this kind of hard work, we must help the weak. remembering the word of the Lord Jesus said himself, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." For more information, call 0751 51 6677.
My name is Reverend David Jogona Mudhui. I am the parish minister, Baraka Parish, and the chaplain to Ongata Booth Girls High School. I want to give a success story of our advert in Kirk TV that sometimes in November we ran some adverts of our school, and we can tell you for sure that this advert brought a lot of impact to our school. Our enrollment at that time, we had 27 students, and through that advert, we are now at 50. We want to thank God because Kirk TV has reached out to very, very many people. We have a lot of people who have made inquiries.
Sablon de Fina. Vicky Pande. Hapo zamani nilikuwa mwenye dhambi, nilibeba taka zote kama tangi, dhambi zilifurika kabuda langi, na zilinichoma kama vile tambi, lakini kanitoa kwake ibilisi mwamba. Ukinisaka utanipata chini ya singeli mwingine mbali mwamba. Mwamba, Yesu wangu mwamba, kanitoa kwake ibilisi mwamba. Ukinisaka utanipata chini ya mwamba, singeli mwingine mbali mwamba. Mwamba, Yesu wangu mwamba. Nimeona utamu wa Yesu, nikaonja utamu wa Yesu, sana ishi utamu wa Yesu, iba utamu wa Yesu. Shetani potea, namkubali Yesu nampa tiki-tiki, amenesha dhambi kama jiki-jiki, nahisi tamu wa Yesu yani jiki-jiki. Pose, haha, pose, kanitoa kwake ibilisi mwamba. Ukinisaka utanipata chini mwamba, singeli mwingine mbali ni mwamba. Mwamba, Yesu wangu mwamba, kanitoa kwake ibilisi mwamba. Ukinisaka utanipata chini mwamba, singeli mwingine mbali ni mwamba. Mwamba, Yesu wangu mwamba. Nimeona utamu wa Yesu, nikaonja utamu wa Yesu, sana ishi utamu wa Yesu, iba utamu wa Yesu. Utamu, 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 nahisi raha ndani ya wokovu, nahisi utamu wa Yesu, nina feel fit ndani ya wokovu, nahisi utamu wa Yesu. Utamu wa Yesu, njoo feel fit ndani ya wokovu, uisi utamu wa Yesu. Utamu, 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 nimeona utamu wa Yesu, nikaonja utamu wa Yesu, sana ishi utamu wa Yesu.
Utamu wa Yesu. Zablo Flamer kwenye studio. Karibu sana kwenye studio zetu.
Nashukuru sana. Mbona ukatoa tai?
Lazima nimetoa tai. Nikamin through na hiyo energy. But I think umefanya ngoma nyingine kali sana na nimesikiza mabeats zako. Unaweza sema what is your genre ya music?
Naweza sema genre yangu ni naimba gospel. Afro pop. Niseme
na kwa hiyo ngoma utamu. Actually hata wewe pia ulisema nataka kuingia na utamu. What is it about hiyo ngoma utamu, like message yake kwa msemaji amesikiza na amesikia hiyo ngoma, amesema ngoma iko na beats kali, ngoma imeimbwa fiti, like message yako time ulikuwa unatoa hiyo ngoma kwa mtu mwenye alikuwa anasikiza ile?
Mi na target my youth by the way kwa gospel industry, na hii utamu inaelezea God anaweza kuchange ukionja utamu wake unaweza feel umechange, una get. Kuna ile yenye kuna wale watu wa klabu, si ndio? Na kuna ile utamiko huko. Na kuna hii side nyingine. Na mimi sidhani hii side nyingine kuna utamu wa Yesu than hii side yetu, unaona? Hii side yetu iko na God, iko na vibe, iko na nini, una get. Na uwezi lack. Unaona, message yake inaeleza hivyo. You cannot lack ukiwa na God.
Utasikia tu utamu wa Yesu. But kuna watu maybe hawajui na wewe ni dancer mwingine hatari sana.
Yeah.
Before tumalize pia utatupea tu moves fulani hapo. Bara nataka kuelewa transition yako, ukakuwa dance. Na ni kitambo actually ukianza hizo madance and all that, until point ikafika ukasema let me start pia kuimba juu pia na ukaamua pia unataka kufanya ngoma za ministry. So hiyo transition ilikuwaje?
Naweza sema na thank God sana alinipatia something else, yani naweza sema ni talent, unaona. Na hiyo time by the transition si ati nimeacha kudance, bado na dance. But sasa nafanya music na dance. Juu zote zinaendana. Uwezi niambia
utaacha kudance.
Nitaacha kudance na ni kitu napenda. But nimekuwa kwa industry like tuseme for 15 years nikidancing tu professionally. And nikamwacha nijaribu hii side nyingine pia ya music.
Ukajaribu na ikapick. Unaweza sema hiyo career yako ya dancing ndio pia ili boost pia your career in music.
Sana. Juu wase wengi wamenijua na dance by the way. Hata kuna wase sasa hivi wajui nimeenda kwa music, nafanya music, unaona. Juu wase wengi wamenionanga tu nikidance. So imesaidia sana kuinua hii career yangu nyingine.
Na kuna kitu fulani unapata youth wana struggle nayo ku make decision ya kufanya kitu ile right na kitu wrong. Unapata mtu mwingine maybe anataka kuwa msanii, anasikia usanii yake iko kwa gospel, anasikia ndio kitu anaweza fanya, but akiangalia naona wasanii wa secular kuna venye wanapenya haraka sana. Sasa anaamua wacha nipige.
But mimi naweza sema hiyo kitu ina happen by the way. But God ni heart yako. Kuokoka ni kwa heart. Unaona, God angalii mwili, venye una dress, venye unaenda huko nje, venye unaongelesha watu God anaangalia heart yako. Unaona, ukiwa msafi kwa heart, hata unaweza unafanya vitu zingine. Unaweza niambia kuna watu wanafanya kazi club, but si ati wajaokoka. Unaona, heart yao na God, kujuana yao na Mungu ija change anything.
Kazi tu. But as well, that is a point put out vizuri sana, like God anaangalia mse mwenye ako ndani, angalia kitu unafanya nje. Again, unapata make the right decision pia kuimba kama gospel. For the last few years tuseme tumepata like some kuna artists pia walikuwa gospel, wengine ikawalemea at some point, waka jump into the other side. But as well umekuwa able kushikilia hiyo point. Unaweza sema nini yenye imefanya wewe usisakam kwa hiyo pressure?
Mimi nilisema kuna kitu yenye ni drive.
Because wengine najua maybe ni mabishto wako karibu.
Lakini mimi nisemanga every decision yenye mtu ana make ana sababu zake, si ndio? Mi decision yangu yenye ilinifanya na baki bado gospel ni juu mimi na feel God amenitoa far by the way. Na mimi najua pali God amenitoa hakuna mse yote anaweza kuani na nguvu kama God, unaona. So I think kivyangu mimi siwezi ondoka. Siwezi mwacha Yesu yani.
Nini unaona inafanya inavuta tuseme mse amekuwa akifanya ngoma tu nzuri za gospel, amekuwa akiimba injili. Nini from where you sit pia kama mse umekuwa msanii pia na mtu kama a fellow youth, unaona nini imevuta? Inaweza vuta ama imevuta vijana, mtu anaona nikifuata hii gospel sioni kama itatoboa, wacha nivukanishe hii side nyingine.
So me I think Kenyans tuache kujudge. Hiyo kwanza ndio kitu kubwa sana tunafanya. Unaangalia kama majuu. Mse anaweza kuwa naimba kama Rihanna, let's say Rihanna. Anaweza imbia God na aende church perform. Why? Kwa sababu Wakenya tuko na kitu inaitwa kujudge. Wakenya huwa tunajudge sana. Kwanza Christianity. Watu wanajudge sana kwa sababu uwezi jua ni decision gani, uwezi jua ni alimekio decision kwa nini, una get. But I think kila mtu venye tu nilikuwa nakwambia, kila mtu kwa na sababu yake. Wengine labda wanatoka gospel kwa sababu ameona mwingine ametoka, unaona. Mwingine anafanya kitu juu ana feel maybe inside our appreciate sana, unaona. Maybe anaenda hiyo side nyingine kutafuta do, you never know. Yeah.
And as well, reasons za mtu kuswitch zinaweza kuwa personal, but kuna ile bigger picture. Maybe kuna watu watajudge, kuna mtu atasema huyu ametoka gospel ameingia secular nini na so many stories surrounding all that. But tunataka to focus tu na wewe, because wewe ndio hapa leo. Imekuwa transition like for years umekuwa ukiona pia industry venye ina evolve, pia industry yenye ina evolve, na pia muziki yenye unafanya saa hii. Unafeel kwamba ile muziki yenye unafanya saa hii imeadapt to the current evolvement pia gospel industry? Because kama unajua pia wasanii wengine wamekuwa outdated juu bado wanafanya ngoma za kitambo, na saa hii time imeevolve, they need to catch up with the pace. That's why unapata pia pressure ina pile kwao. Unafeel kwamba pia wewe kama msanii na fellow artist pia umeevolve na hiyo wave ya music?
Yeah, I think music ijai change. Music ni diverse. Unaona venye wale wase wa kitambo walikuwa naimba, tuseme tu kitu ina chanchingi ni beat. But kitu yenye chanchingi as in maneno ni zile. Kwanza let's say gospel. Tuna spread message moja kwa jamii. Na unapata hatuwezi change, but watu wataimba tu different. Kuna mwenye atarap akiambia God, akichange wase, unaona. Kuna mse ataimba, kuna mse ataongea kama spoken words. Hao watu wanaongea, but unaweza pata anatoka message moja, una get. So lakini sasa kuna hiyo challenge ya generation. Kama kulikuwa na gengeton, gengeton ilikam ni generation tu inakujanga, na mimi naweza sema hao watu wa sasa wanataka kusikia pia gospel new yenye wataelewa, lugha wataelewa, una get. That's why unapatanga ina change, ni lugha tu ina change. Yeah.
As much as lugha ina change, pia message pia lazima ikuwe muhimu, na hiyo ndio kitu inaangaliwa sana. But as well kuna hiyo modernization pia ya gospel music. But kitambo kidogo ulikuwa unaona pia kulikuwa na hiyo challenge ya modern gospel ina kupenetrate kuingia like maybe into churches and all that. Wewe kama pia msanii anaimba modern gospel, have you encountered challenges yoyote na muziki unafanya?
Challenges ni mob, but mimi naweza sema usiwahi stick kwa kitu moja. Lazima ukue diverse, lazima ukue kwa masikio za watu wote, una get. Mimi naimbanga song yenye nikiekea mzazi wangu anaweza sikia na asikie message iko ndani, una get. Usimaintain tu unaka kwa genre moja ya music. Lazima ukue diverse. Lazima kidogo kidogo tunaenda Rose Muhando kidogo. Lazima tuna change hivyo.
Change. Uone kama pia ukichange maybe unaweza poteza pia mafans wako wenye wamezoea tune fulani unakoga naye.
Sijai change, as in sijai lose any. Wanapenda muziki zote zenye natoa.
Sasa hiyo tuseme unaweza kafanya collab na msanii kama Rose Muhando?
Tunafanya collab na Rose Muhando, kwanza inakuwa kubwa sana.
Ama unataka kusema inakuja?
Hapana, lakini tuongoje Mungu.
Hiyo time umekuwa kama msanii na pia as a dancer. Of course you've interacted na wase wengi sana,
kweli
sana, because maybe mtu anataka udance kwa ngoma yake. So una strikeaje hiyo balance ya muziki na dance? Kitu ya kwanza choreography, lazima take time pia choreograph ma moves and all that. Muziki lazima pia take time kuandika na pia ukue keen na message pia unatoa. So una strikeaje hizo balance mbili?
That's why ninafanya dance na music inaingiana. Juu kuna time ya practice ya dance na kuna time ya kuandika. Let's say mi song zangu mob na record usiku, song mingi naandika usiku, una get. So unapata mchana na shughulikia hizi stories zingine za shoot, za choreograph, kufanya nini, but usiku sasa ndio napata hiyo inaitwa mwito. Napata hiyo mwito.
Holy Spirit ina descend sana.
Ndio una feel kuna words na come, so hiyo ndio time unaziandika. Ndio ukipata time na record sasa.
Najua hiyo story, nataka tupige ngoma yako nyingine moja follow, alafu tuendelee pia na show, ndio pia mwenye anawatch nje asiboeke akisema mnaongea sana muziki.
Sawa.
Tupige hiyo ngoma follow, alafu come back. Juu pia lazima tupige energy.
Sawa.
Liba toba. Liba ukinolea kufanya uwe VIP, kila kitu kiwe sawa, maisha yako taifanya kama 1 2 3, iwe rahisi kama namba, uwe mgonjwa hata kama nini, atakupatia dawa, kila kitu atakupatia all you need. Okay baba niko sawa, so tangu niokoke amenipa kama mafuta tangu devo anitoke, ona sasa mimi nakula kila kitu kwake ribiribiri tamtam, amenipatia vitu tamtam, nahisi upendo kwake haukam, sikujua na vitu tamtam, kila kitu kwake ribiribiri tamtam, amenipatia vitu tamtam, nahisi upendo kwake haukam, sikujua na vitu tamtam. Oh, blessings inanifollow, follow me, nikiloti ananifollow, follow me. Oh, blessings inanifollow, follow me, nikiloti ananifollow, follow me. Mwamba, Yesu mwamba, Simba wa Yuda amenibamba, mwana mpotevu atanipata, hata nikianguka atanikapa, so mimi kwake nitatunda, niko hai kama kode ya morasta, so sasa kadarumba, kanisani nipate na mapasta, ataniacha vitu kwake ribiribiri tamtam, amenipatia vitu tamtam, nahisi upendo kwake haukam, sikujua na vitu tamtam, kila kitu kwake ribiribiri tamtam, amenipatia vitu tamtam, nahisi upendo kwake haukam, sikujua na vitu tamtam. Oh, blessings inanifollow, follow me, nikiloti ananifollow, follow me. Oh, blessings inanifollow, follow me, nikiloti ananifollow, follow me. Sasa niko sete, dhambi zangu alifuta ataponya tabiwete na vipofu wataona kila kitu kwake ribiribiri tamtam, amenipatia vitu tamtam, nahisi upendo kwake haukam, sikujua na vitu tamtam, kila kitu kwake ribiribiri tamtam, amenipatia vitu tamtam, nahisi upendo kwake haukam, sikujua na vitu tamtam. Oh, blessings inanifollow, follow me, nikiloti ananifollow, follow me. Oh, blessings inanifollow, follow me, nikiloti ananifollow, follow me. Oh, blessings
Follow.
Yes.
Energy manze.
Unajibamba.
Lazima juu pia mwenye ako home najua anajibamba pia. Because pia ni session ya kujientertain na kuget message pia. Follow. Tell us about your song Follow. You know, like juu pia nimerealize una take time pia kukam up na ngoma zako. As much as unapiga genre moja, kuna message kwa kila ngoma. Na kila ngoma inakuja na tune yake. Hiyo ngoma Follow. Tell us about Follow.
Follow, it's about niliandika hii song nikifikiria, nikiambia wao wase wako home blessings zinaweza kufollow anytime. Huku kwa wewe ni donda, huku wewe ni pastor, huku wewe ni ule mama mboga kwa pale nyumbani, huku unafanya anything yenye unafanya, God atai bless. Unaona? Na God ali bless, anatoa watu chini na anaweka mahali. So mimi na feel ukiwa home, kuna wale wase who lose hope, wanasema mimi yenyewe siendangi church, mimi ni mtu tu nakanga kwa nyumba nini. Si ati blessings zitakufollow. Anytime uko pale home, blessings zitakuwa zinakufollow.
About blessings, time ukianza pia maybe ukiwa pia kwa kuimba kwako, ministry yako pia in music, ushifika point yenye ukafeel like they call it the low moments za you know za kukua pia kwa Christ, low moments zenye pia zinakufanya una feel. Ndio nimeongependa wasanii mwingine anasema maybe alikuwa anataka ku quit music maybe because alikuwa anaona things are not panning out. Umewahi ku experience pia hiyo low moment tukiwa bado kwa ministry?
Hiyo sidhani kama hakuna msanii hajapitia. As in inafika tu time una feel industry kusupport venye ulikuwa umefikiria and una feel tu uko low, as in hata unataka kuquit uachane na music. Music ni stress bro. Unaenda studio, una record, unafanya video, unaanza kupush. Kuna wase watakucheza, kuna wase watachorea, kuna wase watakuambia hii kai poa, rudi studio tena, una get. Hiyo I think ndio inafanyanga wasanii wengi wana feel mbona niendelee kudo music na industry yenyewe ikusupport, una get. But mimi usemanga siri ni magoti ukiomba every time unaambia God atangulie, everything inaendanga tu soft.
Prayer. Hiyo ndo message yako muhimu. But again pia kuna kuangalia kujilift pia kutoka kwa hiyo low moment na unakuja unapanda hadi unasema yes, hii ndio kitu nilikuwa natafuta. Wewe kama pia moment turning point yako ama moment yako unasemaga moment of fame, moment yako ya fame ilikuwa gani? Like when did you feel like sasa at least now pia unaona light sasa, maybe kwa darkness sasa ndo unaona light?
I think moments zimekuwa mob by the way. But kuna ile yenye nakumbuka, as in kuna time nimepanda stage sikuwa najua the first time I was performing, kuimba wacha kudance. Nilifikiria nikiingia pale people will just keep quiet, watulie wakae chini waone okay huyu msanii anatupatia nini. But kitu yenye linishtua ni venye nilipanda kuperform, people walikuwa naimba song zangu, mimi hata nilishtuka. As in nika feel hiyo ndio pia ilinifanya I think kuna kitu yenye hawa sana wanapenda. Unaona? Na siwezi acha kufanya basi. Kuna wase wengi wanangoja nitoe muziki. Unaona? So hiyo ndo time moment yenye nilifeel manze wacha niendelee na kitu ninafanya. Juu watu they know the songs. Nilifikiria watu atakuwa nini wametulia, watu walikuwa na jump on the songs.
That was your highest moment kushape up, at least ukaona pia as much as unajifanyaga muziki kuna watu pia unafanyia muziki, which is very important because pia music iko na message inafaa ifikie watu na pia inafaa ipeleke ujumbe na pia entertainment kiasi. But again tuambie about your new project hiyo umefanya latest because definitely watu wanataka kujua
kweli
project yako ni gani na pia what do we expect from you.
So hii song next inaitwa Bonga. Hii song tulifanya like sijui ni 3 years ago. Time tulifanya hata before corona ianze. Tukafeel si hiyo time. Mimi nilifeel hiyo time si hiyo time ya kuitoa. The moment ni saa hii na ndio tuka release. Nimefanya na boy anaitwa Ciuolo. Ni ministry, anafanya ministry. Na ni msanii mnoma sana pia. Tulikaa tu kwa studio, tulipata na studio by then. Ni kitu tu kupanga.
Mkaamua tu mrecord.
Tuliamua tu kuna idea imekam. Si tu record, tukue na kitu at least. Tu record tu.
Mkapiga kitu.
Tukafanya.
But sasa time yake ndio iko imefika.
Time yake mimi nilifeel hiyo time iko imefika, but time yake sasa ndio sahihi.
Sasa ndio time yake na ngoma poa pia because hiyo ndio toko tunafunga nayo in a short while because Bonga umecombine pia dance moves zimejaa pale. Madancers walikuwa hapo wengi. Kuna dancers ni Meru, I think walitoka all the way from Meru kukuja location Nairobi. Ingia kwa ngoma.
Imagine na mimi sikuwalipa anything. Unaona? Walifeel hiyo ni grace ya God by the way. Na big up sana manze. Big up sana.
Wanaitwaje si unaweza wamesha?
I think ni wase tu wa shule walichukuana. wakakama wanapenda kudance. Wakakama wakisema wacha kuja wani support.
Ingi kwa ngoma.
Lakini Flamers ndio wako kwa main pia. Flamers dancers. Ni madancers wengi. Nikiamua ni kuwataja nda list ni kubwa.
The list ifike watu so. But anyway, we say good jam, pia ni ngoma fiti. And as we wind up again, nataka pia upige ma social zako, wasi wanaweza pata wapi muziki yako, and where they can find you, and anything that they need from you wanaweza kupata aje.
Sawa. Guys, mimi naitwa Zablon Flamer, aka Big Man himself. Unaweza nipata Instagram Zablon Flamer, Facebook Zablon Flamer, na pia TikTok. By the mafans wangu wa TikTok manze, big up sana, na wanajua pale wananipata ni Zablon Flamer. Yeah,
YouTube and all other platforms.
YouTube everywhere ni Zablon Flamer.
And that is where we want to wind up this particular show.
Tunashukuru sana.
Yes, lazima tumalize na tutamaliza na bonga. Mimi naitwa Chris Sambo, and see you on the next episode of Kirk in the Morning next week on Friday. But right about now tunafunga na ngoma ya Zablon Flamer. Bonga, new jam. Take it away.
Zablon the Flamer, Ciuolo champion boy. Yes, check it one time. Yes, you wanna bong. Akibonga mapepo yanatoka, yakitoka wanaokoka. Twende to the right, to the left, turn around. Wanaokoka. Twende to the right, to the left, turn around. Wanaokoka.
Tumerelax na sieti ni shashi, tunajijaz na sieti ni bashi. Alta boy na sieti ni mas, Yesu anilipa deni bila kutumia cash. Na ndo maana nazitoka, ananipenda kama father na wake dota. Ako nami hata wanicheze kama soka, ashani ya range utadhani mimi ni loka. Ya form
Tuli, kama una wonder why we do this. Yesu hizo tujenga na kifuli. Sasa sini ganga ya do this. Ndo maana ndani yake hatuna mawari no. Alikam akondoa matatizo, anati drive hata bila mawari jo. Check it one time, Yesu anabonga. Akibonga mapepo yanatoka, yakitoka wanaokoka. Twende to the right, to the left, turn around. Wanaokoka. Twende to the right, to the left, turn around. Wanaokoka. Alibonga neno moja nikasikia, ndani yake nimechill nimetulia, akatupa na chakula cha uzima, baraka kwa maplate na masinia. Yendumika sasa metuteka, pia nikipotea na cheki indicator. Beta Yesu wangu beta, tuliacha kilio na sasa tunacheka.
cheki one time alibonga hiyo, na mimi kusikia nikasema ndio. Sema neno moja roho yangu hiyo ishapona. Alibonga tuli kama una wonder why we do this. Yesu ashatutinga na kifuli. Sasa sini genka ya do the
Cheki one time, Yesu anabonga. Akibonga mapepo yanatoka, yakitoka wanaokoka. Twende to the right, to the left, turn around. Wanaokoka. Twende to the right, to the left, turn around. Wanaokoka.
Moto sana.
Zablon the Flamer,
Vicky Bande.
hapo zama nilikuwa mwenye dhambi, nilibeba taka zote kama tangi. tambi zilifurika kabuta langi. Oh, na zilinichoma kama vile tambi, lakini kanitoa kwake ibilisi mwamba. Ukinisaka utanipata chini ya mwamba, siongelei mwingine mbali ni mwamba. Mwamba Yesu wangu mwamba, kanitoa kwake ibilisi mwamba. Ukinisaka utanipata chini ya mwamba, siongelei mwingine mbali ni mwamba. Mwamba Yesu wangu mwamba. Nimeona utamu wa Yesu, nikaonja utamu wa Yesu. Sana ishi utamu wa Yesu, nipa utamu wa Yesu. Utamu, 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 hey, yeah. Utamu, 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 yeah. Japo ibilisi atatokea, nitakula pako nitachorea. Nimejaza roho nimepokea, shetani potea. Namkubali Yesu nampa tikitiki, amenesha dhambi kama jikijiki. Na hisi tamu wa Yesu yani jikijiki. Pause, haha. Pose, kanitoa kwake ibilisi mwamba. Ukinisaka utanipata chini ya mwamba, siongelei mwingine mbali ni mwamba. Mwamba Yesu wangu mwamba, kanitoa kwake ibilisi mwamba. Ukinisaka utanipata chini ya mwamba, siongelei mwingine mbali ni mwamba. Mwamba Yesu wangu mwamba. Nimeona utamu wa Yesu, nikaonja utamu wa Yesu. Sana ishi utamu wa Yesu, nipa utamu wa Yesu. Utamu, 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 hey, yeah. Utamu, 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 yeah. Nahisi raha ndani ya wokovu, nahisi utamu wa Yesu. Nina feel fit ndani ya wokovu, nahisi utamu wa Yesu. Jo hisi raha ndani ya wokovu, uhisi utamu wa Yesu. Jo feel fit ndani ya wokovu, uhisi utamu wa Yesu. Utamu, 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 utamu. Nimeona utamu wa Yesu, nikaonja utamu wa Yesu. Sana ishi utamu wa Yesu, utamu, nipa utamu wa Yesu. Utamu, 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 utamu wa Yesu. Utamu, 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 yeah. Utamu wa Yesu. Utamu, hey, yeah. Utamu, yeah. Sablon de Flema, big man. Alpha Madam Trula, Stray music. Yeah. Shetani nanienda kisa na kupenda baba, siaji kukupenda, you are my desire. Tendo na kupenda baba, ni wewe natambua. Mcheki anavyosonga yule shetani, mchape fimbo baba, wendo kusema baba sema, mtoto wako na kufuata. Mcheki anavyosonga yule shetani, mchape fimbo baba, wendo kusema baba sema, mtoto wako na kufuata. Mungu nisitoki kwako, mimi mali yako. Shetani mchape fimbo, Mungu sitoki kwako, mimi mali yako. Shetani mchape fimbo, abaki 0, 0, 0, 0. Mchape fimbo, abaki 0, 0, 0. Mchape fimbo, abaki 0, 0, abaki 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 0, 0. Mchape fimbo. Kwanza baba mimi napenda ulivyonipanga, kila kila kitu kwako baba iko sawa. Yule devil nini ananiambiaga, na kwako nimesettle.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Iko unashangaa niko wapi manake lugha lazima ibadilike. I'm in county 001, county ya Mombasa, and as usual guys, siwezi kosa kukuletea kitengo chetu cha trending on the web hata mnitume wapi. You know, even outside of the country, I'll be right here every Friday morning bringing you trending on the web. My name is Faith Kauli, and thank you so much for staying this far in our program Kirk in the morning. Let's dive into it without further ado, and let's have a look at, you know, what has been trending. What have people been talking about on the social media pages? Why not if you are not aware? Because you know, I got you. So let's dive right into it and start with a story that sent the social media spaces abuzz. At the start of the week, you guys, people were talking about this, and they've been talking about this the whole of the week. What am I talking about if you're asking? The story of former First Lady Mama Ngina Kenyatta shaving off the dreadlocks of former Mau Mau fighter. I honestly don't quite know why it's a big deal. Because if she approved it, why are Kenyans so mad and so angry? I know we have all these notions in our head that, you know, all those hair are sacred, but the former Mau Mau fighter came out and gave us a story and said, you know what, I allowed it. I in fact invited her to come and do the honors. Now, as I mentioned at the start of the week, former First Lady Mama Ngina Kenyatta shaved off the hair of Field Marshal Muthoni wa Kirima. This is after having the dreadlocks for over 70 years as a testimony to the fight for independence. So this happened on the April of 2nd, and the freedom fighter cut off her 6-foot-long dreadlocks. You all. And the person who did that is Mama Ngina Kenyatta, the former First Lady. And Twitter spaces have been abuzz. So let's have a look at what some people have been saying on Twitter. Okay. At Weru_Macharia says, if Field Marshal Muthoni had no issue having her hair cut by Mama Ngina, who are you to take issues with her? Si kila mtu ana nywele zake. And allow me guys to ask the same. Ama. Anyway, Wanjiku HSC says, if you never understood why Mau Mau's Field Marshal Muthoni wa Kirima kept her locks in the first place, you cannot get why she asked Mama Ngina Kenyatta to trim them off. Muthoni promised to shave her dreadlocks on a day when she would have felt that we are truly independent. At Caleb_Gashugu says, if you watch the video, you will notice Field Marshal Muthoni body language suggesting she was not comfortable with the shaving and the presence of Mama Ngina Kenyatta. And at Savo makes a joke here with pics of other guys in dreadlocks and says, ficheni hawa before Baba Ngina afike penye wako awanyoe. Lastly, guys, at Tina Kutuf says, this is wonderful, the reunion of Mama Ngina Kenyatta and Field Marshal Muthoni, who buried all differences, and together, and the passing of the baton to the new generation of economic freedom fighters and peace crusaders. But who and where are the new generation? Can't see them. That is what people have been talking about on the web regarding Mama Ngina Kenyatta, and people have been having moods for days. That aside, guys, let's have a look at a very sad story, the story of Abby Noel Samuels. Well, yesterday, supporters, her family held peaceful demonstrations in Nairobi from Jivanji Garden to President Uhuru Kenyatta's office, where the mother of Abby Noel was asking and crying for justice. If you have not heard about this, let me tell you, let me break it down to